will start for today. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can. Okay, so we'll start for today's session. Actually, the other tool also I have configured it, and it's available here. This tool we are accessing it from MDM-PC, this tool, and other tool is configured here, so you can, but it's not done yet. So this is not done yet. Just directly you can go here. Yeah, the configuration everything is different for this. Probably after I'm working on that, after some time I'm planning to stop this one and migrate it to other one. Okay, this is slight defect in Informatica, so you would have to edit this Hyperion file, and the defect is actually like what the defect is. You normally, if you see when you download a file, you will see that here it will be PC name, that is MDM will be there, so you need to replace that with the IP address. Now if I log in, it should log in. So I just configured not much, just two ORS I've configured. I have to create the remaining ORS, and once that's done, but you can still start using it if you want to. But I have to configure the memory settings and performance tuning, all the things I have not done. Memory configurations are minimal, so this will also be a bit slow, so I have to configure the memory settings and all that. But anyway, let me close this.
How do you migrate them?
I'll migrate the whole repository. Okay, how do you migrate the mapping? That's if you're asking, then what you can do, I'll quickly tell you how you can do that. You go to the repository manager. First of all, you validate the repository. Let's say if you want to migrate ORS Online 3, then you validate it here, because you must validate the repository before you want to do any migration related activity. And once the validation is successful, then you go to the promote here. Okay, in the promote you select the objects that you want to migrate, and then you can migrate it to an directly. If you want to migrate, you can do that, but because this is on a different installation, so what you have to do is you migrate it to a file, and then that file you import it in the target environment. That's two types of migration are there: individual code migration and full migration. So warning is not a problem. You go here and you say select this. Okay, you'd also have to select a target repository. You validate another repository, select it into a target repository. Actually, this tool is not that user friendly. I mean, this is a was tool, I would say. So go to say online lab 3 and also validate. Okay, that. This I'll cover it in the repository manager class, because there are a lot of options that are here. So this will take around 40 minutes or so to cover the whole thing. Otherwise, what you can do is you can also export the full file and then import only those objects that you want to import. That also you can do. For example, here you export the full repository. That's the best way actually to repository to export the full repository to a file. For example, you can go here and export, save this to a file. This will, if I say this, then it will take some 5 minutes and it will save it. Then you don't import it here. You cannot import here, because if you import here, the target repository must be empty. If you want to import here, you go here in promote, there you import it from the here I've chosen the repository name. Instead of that, you choose the file that we exported. From the file you import it to the target repository. Okay, you just try it anyway. And we'll move to the match today. So match configuration for party table. Let me open the sheet. Okay, so we talked about all of this: fuzzy match key, fuzzy match column, and exact match column. So all of these things we talked theoretically. Now we need to configure all of this in the uh, let's see how we can configure this, because all of the things we talked about, we need to configure all of this. This is one match rule set, this is another match rule set. So we'll first of all try to configure this match rule set. So first, understand that I told you yesterday itself that the match and merge setup for every base object is different. So if you are doing it for, let's say, party, then for contact and addresses, if you want to do, you do it there, you go and do it there. So because if you do it for the parent, it will not have any impact to the child, so you'd have to do individually all the things. So that's like a small it's a small problem in the sense, in other tools like in Siebel or in other tools, you will see that if you configure one table, you will see that most of them are automatically configured. So that's automatic something, but here you have to configure it for all the tables. That's a good thing as well as that's a bad thing. Good thing means you have much more control over what you want to do, but the bad thing is, I mean, it's you need a lot of development effort. And another good thing is, from performance point of view, this is better than other tools because you configure only those things that you need. You do not use unnecessary columns or unnecessary configuration. So you do it here in the match and merge setup. So in the first, so this is how it goes: 1 2 3 4, like this in a linear manner. So first you set the properties here, then the path, match columns, match rule sets. One by one you go to all of this, and you don't need to set all of this, just few settings that you need to do, but we'll quickly go through most of this. See the match columns, match rule sets, match rules in active set, primary key match rules 0 0 0 0. All these things are nothing but these are read-only settings. For example, match columns. So this is taken from here. Okay, so how many match columns? Let's say 0. So you have 0. If I add 10 match columns, you will see the number changes to 10. So this 4 match columns, rule sets, match rules set, active set, and primary key match rules. We'll talk about this when we go to the ex we'll go to the these tabs. Okay, so as of now, let's skip this. And yeah, maximum matches for manual consolidation, and the figure is 1000. What is the meaning of that? The meaning is quite simple. This will impact the manual merges. You can say manual match, manual merge, or manual, or you can say possible match, possible uh, possible match. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of this figure as 1000? This figure is 1000 means the maximum number of records that can be queued for manual merging is 1000. Okay, so let's take an example and let's try to understand. Let's say you're getting 10,000 records today. You're getting 10,000, how much? 10,000 records today. And 3K records are new records. Clear? They are new records. And 4K records are already existing, so they are updates. Okay, so 4K records are updates, and remaining 3K are possible matches. It means they are queued, they are to be queued, they are possible matches. and they what will happen to the possible matches? They will go for manual merge. Manual merge. That's the idea. But you can see what is the number here? 3k means 3000. But what is the number here? 1000. So this job will fail because this number is exceeding this value. So your job cannot proceed. Okay. So let's say if this is 5000, then no problem. Until unless this reaches this number, that's not a problem. But once it reaches this number, you must reduce that. Okay. So for example, this is 3k, and next time when you run it, let's say again some 1k records are queued. So how many records you have? 3 plus 1k. Okay. So first of all, try to understand what is manual merge and what happens with these records. These records will be reviewed manually by the data steward. Normally you will not have thousand records. You will have at max 10-15 records per day, not more than that. If you're creating more than that record, then that's like you are doing a mistake. Okay, so if you're creating thousands of records for manual merging every day, then you are unnecessarily you're troubling the um, data steward. So data steward probably he'll go crazy. I mean, if you do that. Status of 9 is something that you put on hold. So 9 means you put the customer record on hold because even the data steward is not sure what he wants to do. So because see you are not sure, that is why you leave it to the data steward to decide. But let's say if the data steward is not sure, he wants some more time, then what is he going to do? He is going to put those records into 9. So 9 means on hold. On hold means it's removed from the manual merge queue temporarily. Okay, so it's not there in the manual merge queue anymore. So anyway, I hope you understood this. Now, what is the number? The number is already Informatica has defined 1000. 1000 is the best, but the problem is
Yeah.
if you keep this,
Sunil, where
yeah,
do you? I'm sorry. Where do you set the 9?
9 you set up in the merge manager. In the merge manager, you cannot access it now because we have not created
Okay.
any packages. But in the merge managers, you have to manually go and then you have to set that to 9. For example,
So the consolidation index will turn to 9.
yeah, the consolidation indicator will become 9 if you put a record on hold. So for example, if you, let's say if I take this, you go here, say begin merge. If the records are there with consolidation indicator status is 2, then only you can see the records here. Okay, some records are there. So you can go here and you can put on hold. So if you put on hold, you will see that this 2 becomes 9 and it is removed from this queue. So this is removed from this queue, and if you go on hold here, you will see the consolidation indicator is 9 now. So 9 means it's typically useless. I mean, no one can do any operation on this row. So this is like on hold, on hanging state, until unless manually you go there and then you requeue it for so that it can be processed again or do anything, any operation that you want to do. Okay, so that's the idea.
From
So-
record perspective, right? Which one is ready for manual merge and which one is ready for auto merge? How do we differentiate? You know what I mean? Like 3 is ready to be matched, right? Then we run it, tokenization happen, and everything is like it found its pair and whichever is going to merge, right?
Yeah, that
Few
is
of them are
the
auto.
See, that is the match rules that you are going to define, right? So based on if this rule is satisfied, it will go for auto. If the remaining rules are satisfied, it will go for manual merge.
Whichever it goes to status 2. Agreed?
Status 2, yeah.
Even if it's so it's an auto merge or a manual merge, the consolidation indicator will be 2. Agreed?
Yeah,
Is that
that's correct. So that information,
so?
what you're asking, that you can find it in the match table, underscore MTCH table. In the
Oh, okay.
underscore MTCH table, that is, let's say C underscore party underscore MTCH, that's the
Got
table.
it. Got it.
Here, you will there will be a merge indicator, merge underscore IND. Okay, it will be 0 or 1. 0 means manual, 1 means auto. So this is how you can track. Otherwise, what you asked, right? Normally it's very difficult to say by just looking at that which one is auto, which one is manual.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It's not difficult. If you do not access it, it's impossible to say actually which one is auto, which one is manual. Let's go back. Okay, so coming back, so that's the parameter. Now what is the best value? The best value is actually 1000, but there's a problem with that. The problem is if you make it 1000, you don't know how many records you can guess actually how many records you might uh, for that day. How many, let's say you have guessed that 200 records will be queued for manual merge, but sometimes what will happen is you don't know the data can be anything. Okay, so let's say this grows to something like 2000, then what will happen in production? The job will fail. Correct, in production the job will fail. So probably you don't want your job to fail because of this reason. So you can increase that to 10,000 or something, but actually not more than that, because if you do more than that, then lot of records will be queued for manual merge, and it will be a very huge activity for your data steward. 1000 is best, but if needed, increase it to 10,000, not more than that. And number of rows per match job batch cycle. This is very important parameter for performance point of view. So this all these parameters are needed for performance tuning, especially this parameter. This parameter goes with this parameter. Number of that's the batch cycle. This the load batch size. Okay, that is 1800 that I have said. Load batch size. This is one important performance parameter. And number of rows per cycle that we are just talking about now. Number of rows per match job cycle, that's 10. This is another more important. That parameter like batch size, that is going to impact the initial load, that is the load job, that's going to impact, but this is going to impact the matching job. So both are different. Okay. Now what is this value 10, and what's the logic? The logic is 10k records. Let's say today I'm getting 10k, 10,000 records I want to match with let's say 10 million or any number. So if this value is 10, now what will happen? Your job will create how many cycles? 1k cycles, that is 100 cycles, match cycles. 100 match cycles means what is the meaning? It will process 100 times. That job will run internally. Remember, that will happen internally, because it means that you cannot see it. You can just change the parameter that will improve or decrease or increase the performance, but you cannot see the cycles. But typically that will happen internally. You do not have control, especially in Informatica MDM. You do not have any control. And I worked in Siebel MDM. There you have complete control on this match cycle. Okay, but here you do not have control, and you don't need that also, because Informatica manages it pretty nicely. So let's say I make this as 100. Now how many match cycles I need to execute? 10k. 10 match cycles I need to execute to process 10k records. Let's say for 20k records, how many match cycle I need to execute? I need to execute 20 match cycle, because it will be 20 match into this 100 number. That's the logic. Okay, so what if I make this number as very less? Let's say 1. What will happen? So there are two things that I can do. I can make this value as 1, or I can make it a very large value. So what's the problem? What's the thing here? If I make it 1, your job is never going to fail, because normally to process a single record, you just need very less memory. So your job is never going to fail. But what will happen here? If I make it 1, the it will become the performance of the system will be very seriously impacted, because every match cycle, whenever you need to, or you can say the number of match cycles, the more number of match cycles, the more memory consumed and the more time consumed. And if I make this as very high, what will happen? Probably the performance will be excellent, but the job might fail, because let's say if you do not have this much memory in your if you do not have memory to put all of this in the RAM, then probably that's going to fail, because normally you need, this will not be, I mean, cache file will not be used directly. The memory will be used for these things. So if you make this number is very high, the performance will be good, but that will impact the, I mean, their job might fail. So that's why it's normally advised to keep something like 100 or 1000, depending upon this would be like 10% of your volume. So let's say if you're getting 18k customers every day, then you would like to make this 1800 or something. But this is like an error and trial method based on your infrastructure, what you have invested or what you have created. You'd have to do a bit of error and trial initially when you implement the project to find the best parameter for this. Normally you'll go
So
with
Sunil?
if we
10%.
have a daily delta report, then based on that we can do that.
Yeah, that's what I said. And normally,
Uh,
you will have around 18k customers for. I mean, like not all companies, but most of the companies will have something starting from 5k to 40 or 100k. Also, I have seen. So depending upon that, so you can say 10 percentage of the delta volume. So I'll put it as 10,
So
and
there is no way that dynamically it sets those things
no,
like in Power Center.
no, dynamically it doesn't do it. In fact,
so I
none of the MDM tool will do it dynamically. I mean, like not just Informatica MDM, but even in Cvel also, you would have to specify this value, this parameter.
Okay.
But in Cvel, you have control. For example, let's say you ran 3 cycles and you want to stop your job for 10 days, and then you want to run the remaining 7 cycles. Then you have control over that. But here you don't have control, so that's the only difference. And apart from that, you will see that most of the MDM tools are very similar. I mean, there is not much difference between most of the MDM tools. That's the real advantage of working in MDM area, because if you want to quickly switch from like say Informatica MDM to Kalido, or from to like SAP MDM or something, then you can do that within a moment of 1 week or 10 days. So just the interface is different, but the features are all the same. And except all, going to the next point, except all unmatched rows is unique. Normally this is by default this is no, but you should always make it yes. Okay, always change that to yes. And what's the impact of that? So I already gave you this example. Let's say you have 10k records, and let's say 3k were new records, and 4k are updates, and let's say 3k are manual merge. So what's the meaning of this? I think you already know the statistics. So new means what? How can you say that a record is new? A record can only be new. Let's say Sunil. How can I say that Sunil is a new record or a unique record? New or unique are same. I can say only, first of all, I must try to match this record with the existing record. If it is not matching, then only I can say that this is a new record. Okay. So in that case, so accept all unmatched rows is unique. So if you, this should always be yes. If you say this is no, what will happen is all these records that you see here, right, these 3k records, the status will hang at 2, and you have to, there is a manual, there's a job that you have to run manually, that is accept all unmatched rows is unique. You can see this here. There's a manual job, accept unmatched rows is unique. You would have to manually go and run that job. So that's like a, this is the job. You have to kick this job from either the merge manager, or you have to kick this job from the SIF. You cannot start the job from here. Okay, here you cannot start it. You can see here there's no execute option. Okay, so normally you always select that as on. Okay, so if you make it yes, then what will happen? If you make it yes, what will happen is the start, automatically this will be accepted as new records. So the consolidation indicator for all these 3k records will automatically change to 1. That's the thing. So normally select this. In production, this is almost like mandatory. You must select this option as yes. In development, you might want to play around. So you may want to make it no and manually check it. So why no? Normally no is needed, because let's say if you want to check the records, by default it will become 2 if you say no. Then you just want to verify it, double check it before merging it. Okay, let's say if you want to do that in the development environment, you want to analyze it, then you want to merge, then you want to accept it as unique. So in that case you want to do, otherwise is not needed. And then the match strategy is written, I mean, you can see by default it is fuzzy. You can see there are two match strategies, either fuzzy or exact. So just understand this, that already you know what's a fuzzy, what's an exact. Now fuzzy, if you choose this as fuzzy here, then what will happen? And if you choose this as exact, what is going to happen? See, when I choose this as fuzzy, the first thing is tokenization is going to happen. Okay, And here in exact, there is no concept of tokenization. No tokenization. There is no concept of tokenization. Okay, so that's clear.
Sunil,
Token.
a
Yeah,
quick question, Sunil. I thought we tell it fuzzy or exact in the rules, right? This is a set,
yeah, that's what
right?
I'm telling. Correct. I'm coming to that. So fuzzy, this setting I'm telling you, this setting, if you make this as fuzzy, then first of all, tokenization. For example, if you see here, if I say exact, okay, you cannot see any fuzzy match key. Can you see any fuzzy match key? You cannot see anything. But if I make this as fuzzy here, you will see this setting. So you're completely clear about this. That's the first thing. And second thing is, if you make the table as fuzzy, then you can configure both fuzzy and exact columns. Okay, clear? So if you make it as fuzzy, then you can configure both fuzzy and exact match columns. But here, there's no question of fuzzy. You can configure only exact match columns. Okay, so here I'm telling you, you can configure both fuzzy columns and you can configure both exact columns. So in our case, I need fuzzy match columns and I need exact match columns. So I must choose the strategy as fuzzy, and you will understand that. So when do I need to make it exact? Like, let's say for party, if I'm making it as fuzzy, I must make it as fuzzy. So for the child tables, that is for the contact and address table, I do not need the fuzzy strategy. I just need the exact logic. So for the child tables, you will see that we are going to use the exact strategy. Okay, here we are going to choose the fuzzy. And the population file is very important. Okay, so for example, I think I have one population file. One second. Okay, the population file is already configured here. See, this is the population file, im underscore Netherlands. For example, if you go here and see here, this will be like netherlands.ysp. So yeah, you see here, this is the population file. This is netherlands.ysp. So the population, it's called as a population file. It will be like country name.ysp. Okay, so let me
So why is that it is configured to Netherlands? It should be demo, no?
no, I have configured Netherlands and demo both. So in one repository, if I remember, I have configured for party, I think I have configured um both. For this ORS, I have configured only demo. But
So
if
by
I,
default it is demo, no?
yeah, by default it's demo only, but you are not supposed to use demo in projects. You need to use demo in training environment, not in project. I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
One second, but let me show that.
So it should be US, no, or international.
Yeah, if you are working with US population, then it will be US. I think I configured it in
So
sample.
what if we have multi country?
You have to configure more than one. I mean, I'll show you.
So based on the country column, it jumps into that population, or
No, you would have to do that. I'll tell you the configuration. First, let me show that. Okay, you can see here in this ORS sample, I've configured demo and Netherlands. So the question what you are asking is, um, let's say if I have multiple population, for example, but first of all, let me tell you what is this fuzzy population file. This is also called as population file, populations file, not population, populations file. So the meaning is it's a very simple thing. It's used to identify local pattern. For example, see, just understand this is very simple. For say Munich, okay, everyone knows the world I mean, everyone in the world knows Munich. I mean, what is Munich? It's a city in Germany. Okay, it's a city in Germany. So it's a big city in Germany. So, and then in Germany they name it as Munchen something. So there will be some diacritic characters. I cannot write that diacritic characters. So this is actually same as this. Okay, the world knows Munich as this, but in Germany it's called as this. So there's a customer called as Sunil, and his city is this, and in another database he has registered his city as Sunil and this. Okay, so how would the system know that this is actually same as this? So you need a local population file that will tell you that yeah, this is same as this. So it contains a lot of patterns like this. So I've just given a small example of city, but you can understand what are the, for example, if you go to India, sorry, in India there are many different patterns. Okay, for example, the title is Sriman something. Okay, and in UK if you go, then sir is a common abbreviation, and in US if you go, Mr. These are very common abbreviations. So if you say Sir Sunil and if I say Mr. Sunil, so both I'm referring to the same thing, but how would the system know that Sir and Mr. are actually the same thing? That is nothing but the population file. The population file is going to tell you the how to identify the local pattern. Okay, how do you identify the local pattern? The population file is going to tell you. Okay, and what is a population file? I just showed you the population file. It will be like let's say if you want to configure for a Dutch population, then it will be Netherlands.ysp, that is for a Dutch population. For USA it will be USA.ysp. For UK it will be UK.ysp, and for India it will be like India.ysp. And for almost, Informatica provides population files for almost like more than 100 countries. Okay, so let's say, so that's very easy. Let's say if your business is in Netherlands only. Let's consider two scenario, Netherlands only. Okay, let's say if your business is only in Netherlands, then you're probably dealing with only Dutch customers. So you just need to select the uh, population as Netherlands. That's more than enough. So all your data, whatever data is coming in the base object, will be treated as Dutch data, and uh, accordingly things will be calculated. But let's say I have a customer called as Sunil from India, and I have another customer as uh, John from Netherlands. From John is a common name in US, not Netherlands. So let's say I have another customer, one customer from India, another from US, and Lee from China. Okay, now the matching strategy, okay, the matching strategy or to local identification of this row and this row and this row will be different. See, okay, because see, Sunil, okay, so I'm written Sunil here. Let's say Sriman Sunil and Mr. I don't know in China what's the abbreviation, but let's assume something. Let's say sir or something. Let's say UK. Okay, so this Sriman Sunil and Sunil, let's say we'll consider the same customer. That's better. So actually all these three are same customers. But how would Informatica identify that these are same? So for that it must use India population file for this guy, for this person. For here it must use the US population file, and for here it must use the UK population file. It means that I want more granular control. I mean, I want more
But here you're able to configure only one file, no? One
yeah, that's
population
what,
file.
that is the case for this if I have only business in only one thing. But yeah, you can
Yeah.
configure more than one. You don't need to I mean, for example, to configure more than one, what you need to do is, first of all, you need to go here, go to log into the database. You have to configure this for every repository. Okay, let's say I want to configure it for ORS classroom 1. So you go for C repos. This is the name of the table. Repos. You should remember the name of this table. It's a very common interview question. Population. This is the name of the table. Okay. So you can see here by default there are a lot of. For example, let's study the first one. So this, and the population file is Finland. Okay, and these are the different settings, population settings that you have. And you can see the enabled indicator is 0. Enabled indicator is 0, it means that this is not enabled. Okay, so yeah, you can see this is 1, it means this is enabled. So let's say if I want to enable, let's say Netherlands file, if I want to enable, let's say US file if I want to enable, then what I need to do, I need to copy this US file, okay, into the server. I need to go here, and in the server I need to go here and say to the server, sorry, not in the server, in the cleanse, um, it is in the match, yeah, inside this resources and match, you would have to copy that file in here. So let's say we are talking about this case. So what you have to do is you have to copy the india.ysp, india.ysp, ysp, then us.ysp, and then uk.ysp. Three files you have to take. From where you are going to get these files, you have to, this file, the only way of getting this file is from Informatica. Okay, from Informatica you must request this file, and they'll give you these files. These are roughly 10 MB files, not more than that. So they can also send you via email, okay, 10 MB files, and then you can download that and then you can paste it here. Let's say once you have pasted these three files here, India, US, UK, three files here, then what you need to do is you need to go here and simply you just directly update this table and change this to 1. Okay, update this table directly, update this table and change this value to 1. For what? For India, you can see that there is no, as far as I can see, there is no entry for India. So what you need to do in this case, you need to insert a row in here called as India. Okay, you need to insert a row that is called as India, and this value, normally this is always the same, but still before you do that, you should inform Informatica that before you insert a new row into this, you have to talk with Informatica once, because normally this will be the same, okay, but it can also be different. But I think you can directly copy paste. I have copied and pasted, so that it always works. Okay, you can copy paste and you can create a new row, one for India. For US it's already there, and if I see for UK, we do not have an entry for UK here, so you would have to create an entry for UK here, and you must change this enabled indicator to 1. Once you do that and restart your server, see, once you do that, you must restart your server. Once you restart your server, then here you will be able to see all the population files. Okay, you will be able to see all the population file, and now the population file that you choose here will be the default population file. It means, see, now just try to understand how this is going to work. See, in the base object you are going to create a column called as sip underscore pop. You have to create a custom column called as sip underscore pop. You can also find the documentation in here. You can find it in the this guide itself. Okay, you can find this documentation here. All the documentation that I talked about using multiple population files. It's a very simple and easy configuration. You just need to create a column here, that's the sip underscore pop. Okay, so once you create the column in sip underscore pop, for this guy, for Sunil, you have to populate this sip underscore pop as INDIA. For this guy, you have to populate it as USA. The name, whatever you are populating, must be the same as whatever is mentioned in here. If you give it in capitals or something different, that's not going to take. So whatever is mentioned here, you must give that name here. So how you can give this name? In the landing table, you have to create the mechanism, or in the ETL you have to create a mechanism to populate USA in this column for this guy. And for this guy, you have to populate this sip underscore pop as UK. And let's say there is another guy called as Amit, and you don't, let's say you forgot to populate the you did not populate anything in sip pop, then what will happen? Which population will be taken? Whatever you have configured here, default population will be taken for that. That's the simple logic. Okay, that is how you configure multiple populations, and this is a very common thing because nowadays almost every company in the world, they are not restricting themselves to a single country. They have business in multiple country. So this is
So basically, you need to update that many customers or the parties. If you suppose you have a million parties, you have to classify them based on the country and add that column or populate that SIP underscore column.
correct. Yeah, you have to populate it if you want multiple population. Otherwise, if you do not populate it, it will take the default, it will assume the default population, and it will take it.
So this is fine. So dealing the multinational parties. But as you explained in the previous example, like the same city can be spelled in multiple ways, like Munich or Munich.
Correct.
So how to handle that kind of things?
Yes, so that's what a population file will do, right? I mean, it will translate. Let's say if you say Germany, let's say Munchen to Munich, so automatically if it is Munchen, it will translate to Munich and it will understand that. So that's the local pattern. It will identify the local pattern. Okay, so if it is Munchen, then it will translate to Munich. Okay, let's say
So
this.
that a particular population file has to be enabled.
That population file, all the population file will be enabled. For this guy, let's say we'll take a German guy now. For German guy,
Mm-hmm.
let's Sunil and Munchen. Okay, and the population is Germany. So this will automatically be translated to Munich, and this will be compared with this row. Okay, and this is already Munich is there. If you provide Munchen here,
Mm-hmm.
and if you say UK population file, that's not going to work. You must
Okay.
because you, if you're providing Munchen and you are using a UK population file, that's like it's foolish. I mean, okay, so that's
Yeah, I mean basically from the source we need to populate the zip pop
yeah, safe pop, and
column.
this will be pretty simple. The reason is, let's say if there is a, because the source systems, they know from where the customer came. Okay, because from the address they can easily find out if it's a, the record came from German client or from US client. So that's easy. So identifying this and populating this zip pop is like a very easy job. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
But if you do not populate, it will take the default. That's the logic.
So everything goes into reject table if we don't populate that.
No. If that's what I'm saying, if you want to do it, you create a logic for that. But normally, if you do not populate it, it will take the default population. The default is nothing
Okay.
but whatever you've chosen here.
So for that it will take either person or org or address.
No. What I'm saying is, if you do not populate this zip pop, let's say for Sunil, if you do not populate this zip pop, then it will take the pattern as
Mhm.
Netherlands population file because that's the default I have set it.
Okay.
Normally, you should remove this demo from production environment. You should not keep it at all. Remove means, how do I remove this? I do not need to delete that file as well. I just need to go here and enable indicator. I just need to make it 0. Okay, and restart the server, so that will disable the demo file.
So then it is a confusion. So one of the questions in the dump you have given is that only. So it should be defaulted to demo. And I got confused this morning when reading the dump, certification
uh,
dump.
it should be defaulted to.
It says that the answer is defaulted to demo. I was surprised.
No, it should not be demo. Demo should not be used at all in a production environment. Demo is just for training purposes,
Yeah.
not for production.
So then in the certification questions, are they all correct? What are the answers given, or should we break our head?
No, I think the answers are there. I have not checked most of them. I checked just the beginning question and I felt this okay, so I
So
thought.
there are nearly 180 questions. Most of them are contradictory, so I have marked them and try and go through all the documentation.
No, the answers, see the answers, I did not create the answers, so I cannot say that they are correct or not. But by default, Informatica MDM supports which of the following match population. Oh, see, this is a very simple question, right? This question is correct. What's wrong with this question? By default, Informatica MDM supports which of the following population? By default means what? When you install the product, what is the default population that's supported? Default is demo, right? So what's wrong?
So
That's,
why it has?
this is correct, right? It's demo. By default means when you install the product. See,
Okay.
when you install the product, let's say if you install the product in US and a Portuguese guy also installs the product in Portuguese, let's say Lipson, he installs that. For both of them, the default will come as demo. That's the default. After that, you would have to, if you want, you
Configure.
would have to configure it. And I told you to configure it, just you need to go here and change the indicator and copy that file in that location that I told you. Okay, in that location, if you do that,
So those files will not be copied, no? Based on the license, we'll be getting the population files.
population files will not be, I mean, if you have a valid license, then you can ask any population file. They'll not charge for population file. They
So
should
if you
not.
have multinational customers or the parties,
You can also use
so
international. International is will detect lot of patterns, but it will also lose lot of patterns. It's
okay.
better to use. See, if you have clients spread over different. If you feel that, let's say, the logic is very simple. Let's say 90% of your clients are concentrated in, let's say, Dutch clients, and remaining 10% clients are, um, let's say other like Belgium and German clients, and you feel that this 10% is not really that important, then you don't need to configure multiple populations. Okay, or else what you can do is you can simply use international. But if you have something like 20% are from one country, another 30% is from another country, then you need more specific control. So that's where you're going to use multiple population files.
Okay.
Okay, so this is not a contradictory. This is a correct question, correct answer. So match only previous row ID objects. These two options are just waste of time and they are not needed. They are not used. What the logic is? The logic is very simple. The logic is, let's say I have 10 million rows already there in my MDM. You just understand this. Don't need to concentrate on this because it's not used. I'll tell you where it is used. So let's say you have 10 million rows already. Not say 10 million. Let's say 1,000 rows you have already loaded into your MDM. Let's make it simple. So normally what will happen, the row ID object will start from 1 and the last person will be 1,000. Okay, now if I try to load 10 more records, then what will happen, the row ID object will start from 1,001, then it will grow to 1,010. Correct. So if you select this option, match only previous row ID objects, what will happen is, let's say this record will never try to match with any of this record, because this will only match with row ID object lesser, or you can say previous, that is this, let's say 1002 and say 1005. So when we take this record, let's say when we take this record will try to match with any of this record, but it will never match with any of this. So what is happening here, we are simply decreasing the total number of match pairs, and what will happen if you decrease the total number of match pairs, that will increase the performance. So this is normally not used, but the only place where you want to use this match only previous row ID object is when you want to run a full dedupe on a table. Let's say you want to run a full dedupe. Let's say you have 10 million customers and you want to run a full deduplication on the table. Then if you choose this will slightly increase the performance. That's the only thing. And match only once means, let's say this got already matched with this, then the match process is going to stop. It will not continue. Normally what will happen, if A matches with B, it is not going to stop there. It will also try to match A with C, or whatever number of match pairs are there. Let's say 10 match pairs are there for a record, it's going to execute all the match pair. But here, if you put this limit here, this can only be chosen if you choose this. Okay, so if you choose this, then this puts a limit to the total number of matches, that is 1. Anyway, this is not interesting, not needed at all. And dynamic match analysis threshold, this is also not needed, but this is an interesting parameter. So what this does is, this puts a limit on the total number of match pairs. Total number of match pairs, max number of match pairs that can be generated. You understand it? What's the max number of match pair? For example, if I try to match 100 records with, let's say, 10 million records, let's say the first record creates 3 match pairs, the second creates 5 match pairs. So if I add on, probably my total number of match pair will be around, let's say 500 match pairs will be generated. Okay, so if I make this parameter as 400, my job is going to fail. Okay, so basically this puts a limit on the total number of match pairs that can be generated. So that's a simple logic. Total number of maximum number of match pairs that can be generated. Normally this is disabled in production environment. This must be disabled. Okay, but let's say if you're playing around with your match rules. So when you're playing around with your match rules, then you do not have any idea actually how many match pairs will be generated. Probably if you're playing around with the fuzzy match key, okay, if you're playing with the fuzzy match key in a production like environment, not production, okay, production like, so that you can say it's a like research environment, or some people call it as fast lane environment. This is a copy of production data, not production data, just a copy dump of that. So you play around, if you are playing around and you're playing around the fuzzy match key, you don't have any idea how many match pairs will be generated. Let's say 1 million match pairs are getting generated. So you know how much time it will take? It might take even 4 or 5 hours to execute 1 million match pairs. But you don't want to wait for that. Let's say 10 million match pairs are generated as a result. So this probably will run for 1 day or so. And you don't have that much time. You don't want to wait that long. You simply want to see if the match pairs are exceeding 5,000, please fail the job. That's what if you want to do. You put a limit here, say 5,000. That's the simple. So this is quite useful for people who are who work on especially matching. I mean, who are matching expert. So for those people, it will be, this parameter is quite useful. Enable match on pending records. This is for state management. So I'll tell you, explain you state management records, state management later once we finish most of the topics. So state management is business process management, where let's say if a customer changes, Sunil is there, and let's say business analyst comes, he changes it to Sunil K. So normally what will happen, the change will directly happen in the base object. Okay, so that's what will happen normally. But state management is a process, it's an approval process. So what will happen is, if Sunil is changed to Sunil K, directly it will never be updated into my base object. That will go through an approval process. Approval process means, what's an approval process? Your senior manager or an IT manager is going to approve that change. If he doesn't approve, what will happen? The change will not be accepted. If he accepts, then it will become active. So by default, when you do the change, the record goes to pending state.
So it has to go through the IDD workflow.
Yeah, IDD workflow. That's what the IDD workflow is. I mean, it has to go through the IDD workflow. You have to create and send it for approval. Once you send it, then the person, the manager is going to get that, and he's going to approve it. If approved, this will become active. Otherwise, this will become deleted. So this is typically tracked using the hub state indicator. If you see the base object, in the base object, if you go here, you can check it, that there's a column called as hub state underscore ind that has a special usage. That has
So
a
active delete and what is the other step? Pending. Huh?
active, deleted, pending. Pending means by default when you do a change, that will be in the pending state only. So once it is approved, this will become active, and otherwise it is deleted. Okay, so
Is it stored as 0, 1, -1 or?
yeah, in hub state indicator, this is -1, this is 1, this is 0. That's the value. But only if this state management is used, then only it will be used. Otherwise, this column is not used.
So once IDD is configured, this has to be used, no?
No, this is not mandatory. If you want the approval process, then only you would like to use it. If you don't want the approval process, you don't need to configure this.
Okay.
This is an
So
approval.
where should we enable that?
This enabling, no, this state management, if you want to enable, you have to integrate a separate software that's called as Active VOS. This is actually Informatica has purchased this software. Previously, this was not with Informatica. This was a separate company. I believe this is now Informatica only. Yeah, you can see here. So previously it was Active Endpoints. Now Informatica has purchased this one. So anyway, this software is completely different than Informatica MDM. So or Informatica. This has nothing to do with Informatica. This is just a business process management BPM software that creates an approval workflows. So to if you want to do any changes in your organization, then it must go through an approval process. So that's what the business process management software does, and that's the same thing that we are talking about here now. So you want to introduce a business process management in at any point at anywhere if you can introduce it, and in this state management we do it when we want to do any changes. So if you want to insert a new record manually using the IDD, then you would have to use this active use engine. You would have to integrate, and in the workflow manager once installed you have to just enable that, and then yeah, you have to create workflows and all that. That's a different thing. So anyway, this is a very recent addition, like
So
active use integration.
basically, if you know some customers are genuine customers and it has to be loaded using the IDD interface, this will be leveraged.
No, normally data will not. I mean, technically speaking, you can load data directly using IDD also. Like you can do batch loads
Yeah.
using IDD, so you can import data also using IDD. But normally you would not do that. The main objective of IDD is to create one or two records, not more than that. One, two, three, four records, and even that is not the objective of IDD. The objective of IDD is to view mostly and to update or change records. Okay, not to create records. I mean, there is an option to create records. You do have options, but normally you would not you wouldn't use it. This
So
is
will those records go on the match and merge process on behind the scenes, or it's directly going into the base object with a unique status?
yeah, that is what this option is for. So this what is it, where is this, enable matching on pending records. So if you have selected that, then for pending records, those records will also participate in matching. But if you do not select this, then those records will not participate in matching. That's the thing here.
Oh.
The consolidation indicator will remain the same. There's no consolidation indicator changing. Okay, it will remain the same, but uh, this will differ. Okay, so this is the properties tab, and this is the path. Now we'll go to the path. Path is the match path. What is the match path? Match path means the logic. Okay, we'll go to our ORS. Okay, party. So like match merge setup. See, this is already done. So I'll now coming to the match path. See the match. What is a match path? Match path. See, just let's try to understand this document. In this document, see, this is a match sheet for party. Let me note, write it clearly. So this is a match sheet for party. It means using this thing, we are going to configure the match rules for what table? Party. We are not talking about address table or contact table now. Probably I would have to create one small thing for child tables. For here I have created the match rules and all that, and for here I have not created. It will take 2 minutes or something. I'll create it later. But this is exclusively for party. Even this is exclusively for party. Okay. So when we are doing this for party table, just see that the fuzzy match key. The fuzzy match key we are using as address, and from where it is coming? The fuzzy match key is coming from the address table, correct? Because the fuzzy match key is the ADDR underscore name, and the ADDR underscore name, if you see the party table, there is no ADDR column. The ADDR address is stored in the address table. Okay, so I want to use the address in the, see, the logic is very simple. I want to use address columns in party matching. You understand, right? Address is a different table, party is a different table. Then in a database, how would I do? I would say that like join party, okay, left outer join with address. That's how I do it. But here, in order to implement the same thing, we have the concept of match path, because we cannot specify the queries here. You do not specify any queries here directly. You just specify, let's say, this is party. Now I want to use the address. So what I need to do is just take an acquire log. Okay, you go here, click on this, and you say plus symbol. You click on this plus symbol. Now I'm adding a path. What I'm trying to add, I'm trying to implement this scenario. I want to use address column in party matching. So I use the address table, say addr. Okay, then I can say okay, but just see this, check for this missing children. Check for this missing children means it will perform a left outer join, and if you remove them, it will perform a normal join. Or you can say inner join or normal join, that's the same logic. Okay, or say join, inner join. So here, if this is clicked on, it will be a left outer join. If this is turned off, this will be a inner join. Normally you should always click this on. What if I remove this? What is the impact? The impact is it will be an inner join. So let's say Sunil is there and his address. See, address is important, so here you might want to remove it, that's fine. But let's say if I'm considering contacts, then for contacts I should not remove it. Okay, so you can understand, if I remove it, what will happen is, if the parent doesn't have a associated child, okay, so let's say Sunil is there and Sunil does not have any valid contacts. Okay, now if I try to configure the Sunil here, the contact, first of all let me add the address here, then let me go for the contacts. Contact, this is the parent component, party, and say contact. Okay, so if I remove this here, that's what is the problem here, it will be a normal join. Okay, so normal join, what is the difference between a normal join and a left outer join? I think you already know. Okay, in a normal join, if it is present in both, then only it will work. But in a left outer join, if it's present in the left table, not there in the right table, then that's not a problem, so that's going to work. Okay, so
What is the match key for contacts, Sunil? Sorry.
match key for contact will be using exact match strategy, will not be
Right, but what
using.
would be the column? What would be the column? Like address we have, right? For address and party. What do
Yeah,
we have for party?
for exact matching you do not need to specify a fuzzy match key, you just need to specify the match columns. For match column we are going to specify it as party ID.
Party ID, okay.
Yeah, party ID, we're going to do that. Okay, and you can also put a where condition if you want. For let's say if you want to put a where condition for address, then click on this and you put a where condition, let's say create date in, or any condition that you want to put, you can put that where condition here, as well as here, as well as here, and on any of this you can put where condition. So this is nothing but match path is nothing but joining on either left outer join or right outer join, depending upon this check missing child. But basically it's a join between the parent and the child, and it's only needed if you want to access the child table columns. For example, for address, when we configure, we do not need to configure match path. You will learn that for addresses, when you configure, you don't need to configure any match path.
So basically, there is no option for right outer join, right? It's only inner or left outer join.
There is no option for right outer join because this is the boss. I mean, C underscore party must be
Yeah,
the
that's what.
on the left hand side, because that's the rule, right? We are trying to configure it
Yeah.
for party, and so there's no concept of right outer join. It's only left or normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that we'll finish the class today, and see tomorrow. One second.